Hello everybody, it's UnkleDestiny back here with you, and it's time to do our reading for the month of July as we come to this end of June. We're now in the summer seasons and Pride Month is coming to its close. So let us see what July, as we move into the high point of the summer, has to offer for us. I want to remind you that this is a general reading, so not everything is going to match for everybody, but it gives a general idea of the energies of the month. So let's go ahead and get the ancestors and the orishas and the spirits in here and see what they got to say. All right, we have cast the bones, and here we go. So the dice came up with the number 6. So this is talking about the 6th house, and this focuses on health, fitness, organization, and acts of service, which I believe came up probably sometime for the beginning of May. Our Adinkra symbol for this one that embodies the month of July is the King of the Adinkra symbols. It represents authority, greatness, prudence, firmness, and magnanimous. So we're looking at a blend of these two elements of what does it mean for our health, our fitness, our organizations and acts of service, and how are we operating from a place of authority, of a sense of greatness, of something that's being prudent, and which means we're being wise and looking at all the angles of it, but also knowing where we are, what our grounds are, and when we are bending and when we are not, because we want to know where we are, where our firm boundaries are, because accountability is also a part of this. And where are we being magnanimous? Because we want to basically be generous, we want to show our power. And our power is not about coercion or harm. This is about how can we, as a classic saying, lift all ships. And that brings us into that standpoint of the health and fitness and organization, as well as act of service, because ultimately we want all people to be healthy. We want all people to have fitness. We all want organizations to be both prudent, firm, but also magnanimous. We want our acts of service to come with a sense of authority towards the thing that we are providing that service with, and showing that act of greatness that comes with just the mere act of service. So, what do we've got here? So if you notice, we only have 2 of our main bones. Now these 2 main bones, as we are coming into the month of July, this one is about family and social. This one is about friends, or I should say the home bone. So you notice we don't have the work bone here this time. And with that being the case, this month of July is in some ways much more about our social connections. It's also about that sense of how are we resting at our homes. We have been through a very tumultuous year and a half with everything that has happened with the elections, with COVID, frankly, with the issues of racism as well. Not to mention what we are doing and dealing with the sense of economy. So how we are being socially connected, as for some of us are finding ways to now be more connected with people than we have been for this last year and a half, but equally we have to be conscious too. And how are we properly resting in a sense that now we do not have to be in this same paranoid existence in our homes. So July in and of itself, as I said, the standpoint of health and fitness. Health and fitness comes, how are we connecting to release this energy that we've dealt with for the last year and a half? How are we doing it with the authority to know that it's okay for us to release this energy? And that's what all of these support bones that we've got under this. There is support for us to be able to release this energy. Because holding on to this energy, holding on to this angst is not going to get us anywhere. It's actually going to tear us down more, which also brings us again back to our health and fitness. If we are not seeking the paths to relieve that stress, because we cannot stay in that stress state 24/7. Despite what some businesses and some groups want, especially those who rely on the power of fear. I'm going to say that again. Those who rely on the power of fear want to keep you in that off-balance state. Always that worry about your health, which makes it easier for them to use that fear to manipulate you. So there's a lot of structural support here around the aspects of taking a break and resting. Now, we have the quartz piece here, which is coming again in on our home bone here as being the greatest direction and closest proximity to it. And this is about reconnecting and also finding and building the new memories to go along with the aspects of what we have been dealing with for this last year. So what it does encourage us is to look at places that we have not been before, to connect with the energies there, to find and make the new memories, because that's part of this, of being able to have resolve in all this, is to find new memories, to make new memories. And can these memories be made in new social connections? Especially as we come back and realize we're interacting with people differently than we were prior to all of this, prior to a year and a half ago. So there's a reassessment about how we are interacting, how we are, and who we are interacting with. So this last year and a half has given us perspective. So we're looking to bring that into this energy here. And we have the copper piece also next to it. And again, it's next to the quartz piece and next to the home bone. So this is all about resting. And so there is definitely a spiritual energy in the idea of rest. And that rest does not mean that we have to be constantly active. Yes, it means we could sit in the garden or on our patio and read a book. It means, yes, for some people, going back out and partying. So yes, that means let's have a barbecue. Let's go to the beach. Let's just go out and enjoy a fair. All of these things are there. But again, we need to look at those with a certain degree of consciousness. Not fear-based consciousness, but consciousness. And that's getting into our sense of organization and our active service. Because Spirit will lend us into that regards. Now, we also have the shell, which is turned inward. So again, this is, with it being inward, it's about the inner work, the emotional work there, that we are acting as, how are we acting with our greatest, both physical health, but also, most importantly, our mental health. Because what happens to us mentally can show up not just spiritually, but also physically. Many people are now looking at the idea of how quickly can they, or how quickly and what efforts do they need to do to take the weight off that they gained in this last year and a half. That takes a place on our mental toll and what it means for us to take stock of what we've been through and why was it so easy for us to put on the weight? What did that tell us about our health? What did that tell us about our fitness? What did that tell us about our organization and how we were of service in what ways during this last year and a half, and how we're going to be into that going into this next month of July? And again, how much are we also taking authority over taking care of ourselves? Now, I said responsibility a little earlier in this, but with responsibility also comes the subject of accountability. How are we taking accountability of the energies that we have been using, not using? The accountability around our health, around our physical health, and our mental health. How are we taking accountability around our fitness? What are we doing? It doesn't necessarily mean that we have to be right back at the gym working like we were before. It's about coming back and reappreciating, reacquiring those skills that we were doing earlier. And it's being prudent about it. Yeah, for many people, we've been a degree of sedentariness over this last year and a half. So it means going back to square one. So guess what? You get to reappreciate what it takes to build yourself back up. Are you building yourself up the same way again? Or are you doing differently? Are you going more for endurance as opposed to strength? Are you going more for durability as opposed to flexibility? All of these things are part of this. All of this is part of the support structure that's involved. Now, over here, we have the top of the spinal board, which I sometimes also kind of reminds me of the pelvic bone. And what this says in this, as we move into July, is that there's new material coming in. There's new process. There's stuff that is going to be birthed that's going to be more intellectual based from the mind, and with its proximity to the shell tells me, again, it's much more about interior. It's about continuing this internal processing, this internal thought. We don't want to just abandon that just because now we can go out or the risks are lower. We need to continue the mental processes, the internal reflection, the internal review, because if we go back into this not having changed, not having learned anything, guess what the universe is going to do? It's going to take us back through that lesson again, and it's going to make it harder. So, whatever is going to be coming in this new month of July, this new period of the summer, is about birthing more internal intellectual development. What else have we learned? We've got more inspiration coming in this year. We've also got more work on providing balance coming in this year. So with this, everything that's happened this last year, again, we are having people readdressing what and why they're working, who they're working for. This process is going to continue, and it's going to become clearer that what has been the process of the past cannot continue. We cannot keep going back to that idea of living in the past or dreaming about the past, because the past has problems that were ignored, problems that were used with the wrong form of authority, problems whose greatness only benefited a certain set. And we need to be very prudent. We need to be very firm with it and understand that magnanimity, isn't just about throwing paper towels. It's about getting in there and clearing the land of the damage. It's about pouring the concrete that's necessary for the support post and making sure it's got a good depth, because the structure that gets built on top of it has to be able to stand against much of what the world can throw at it. And so that's where the balance is coming in here, as well as the wishes that are becoming. What this does remind me of is the aspect of if you look at how some bridges or structures that span a space are, there's actually an overlap. They don't just come point to point. They actually overlap on each other. And this reminds me of kind of a bridge, because if you build these points where they're overlapping, these are the places not only where it can fail, but these are the places where it's the strongest. And so we've got to overlap this sense of who and what we're socializing with, and how are we resting, how this provides us our health, our fitness, our sense of organization, our sense of service, and how it provides us a sense of authority, a sense of greatness, a sense of prudentness, a sense of firmness, and that magnanimity. So, this is Uncle Destiny for you. Hope you're all well. Hope that you enjoy the rest of this summer. And on behalf of the ancestors and the spirits and the Orishas, Ashe.